Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show today, as we normally do. Well, I hope all you guys watched that great old debate yesterday. The debate was, what should I say? It was better than I expected it to be. It was substantive, and it was a setup by CNN. CNN wanted to have a war among Democrats. As it turns out, we had, as I mentioned before, we had 2 Democrats, 3 moderates, and 5 Republican-lites on stage. How did the Republicans get on stage? Well, they made it on stage, folks. Anyhow, today's show is titled Progressives and Democrats Snatching Defeat from Victory? I need you to answer that. I need you to think about that. Subtitle: Fear is a bad thing. And that was the commentary for yesterday on KPFT 90.1 FM in Houston. And today is not a continuation of it, because what it is an instantiation of it with who else but Elizabeth Warren. Anyway, the title, Fear is a Bad Thing. Now, many Democrats are wondering if their policies will snatch defeat from victory. Tamara Shealey will join us. And when I talk about will our policies or ideas or commentary snatch defeat from victory, one of the topics that we're going to talk about with Tamara is a pretty heady topic: reparations. Anyhow, Democrats and progressives pulling defeat from victory? Nah, only Democrats can do that. Elizabeth Warren laid out the gauntlet yesterday. She stopped Republican-lite candidate Joe Delaney cold as he spoke about all the things we cannot do. She asked, why would anyone run who started a discussion with what cannot be attained? Why start negatively? I love Warren. Warren made it clear that unless Democrats go bold, they will in fact lose. You know how I know what Warren's got, what it takes? When she came to Houston, I interviewed her. I asked her, hey, what's going to happen when they call you a democratic socialist? And she lit into the narrative. She tore it to pieces. Tamara Shealey will join us and discuss CNN's debate. Number 1 panel taking up the issue of reparations. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Tamara into the fold. Tamara Shealey, how are you doing, my friend?
Hi, Egberto. Good afternoon, Politics Done Right family.
Yeah, we're doing fine. Hey, you know, we have a hell of a lot of candidates. 20 of them in the debate, but like 24, 25 of them that are actually running. And I actually found out there are so many others that are running. In fact, a couple of them sent me some emails saying, hey, nobody's talking about us. Will you interview us? Like, but I don't know who you are.
Please give me some shine, Egberto. That's what they was trying to say.
But you know what? I'm gonna actually look them up and make sure that they're not baby killers or something like that. And if they're not that, then that is my job, right? My job is not to play. I mean, there are a lot of these guys who can get on the big screen or whatever. No, my job is to highlight the folks that nobody else want to talk to. That's what we are supposed to do, Tamara.
And I agree, Egberto. I think, let me tell you what is so encouraging about this presidential election. Like this cycle is that we are having some really hard conversations. We're pushing the needle. Like we're not playing about reparations, talking about universal health care and Medicare for all. Like you know what? I'm going to give the Democrats a pat on the back, Egberto, because you know what? I think, the robust conversations, I'm excited.
Well, folks, if she says that, if Miss Shealey says that, because let me tell you, she's been, well, I'm not going to go that bad, but if she says that, it must be that the Democrats are really doing something right. And I like I said, when I watched the debate, I expected nothing out of the debate. I enjoyed the debate. I think the people showed an intelligence, and I mean all sides, even the Republican-lite people. I enjoyed listening to what they had to say, because what the Republican-lite folks had to say is going to be my narrative of what isn't a Democrat. You see what I'm saying, Tamara?
I get it. Actually, I made a little list, Egberto. I went through and I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of chronicle these people just to kind of keep up with what they're saying and what they're talking about. So Governor Steve Bullock out of Montana. My thing when I was watching him, I was like, who are you? I was like, who are you? So I kind of dived in a little bit with him. Montana legislature. When it ended, he kind of came in. I think he came in the race a little late or something. I'm like,
well, what happened? He didn't qualify.
Oh, he didn't qualify.
He didn't until we had a dropout. The guy from, I think, California dropped out. Swalwell dropped out, and then he took his place.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, this guy was like, who are you? Like, so, and of course, Marianne Williamson.
I love her.
I love her too, and as long as she keep talking about reparations, Egberto, she got my vote. Like, I'm sorry, I might just be a one candidate, one.
No, that's not you. No, I am not. I am not. I gotta vote my
top agenda item, which is reparations. Like,
Miss Shealey, may I interrupt you? You are on Politics Done Right. I know you too well. You are not a one issue person. So don't. You have a good reputation. Let's keep it that way. I know that. I know who you are.
But in this instance, I have to vote with the most important issue with me with this 2020 election is reparations. Is to repair the damage that the history of this country has caused. Like, I cannot say that louder, and I can't be more clear about reparations and closing this racial wealth gap is real, Egberto. I've been kind of keeping up with some things, and the median wealth of Black Americans will fall to zero by 2053. 2053 will our median wealth for the Black community will be zero. I cannot vote anything but reparations first. Of course, I want her to have some other talk and some other things that she's going to do, but I can't. I got to give my vote for that.
Let me tell you, like I said, nobody has to convince me about that. All we have to work about is how we're going to do it in the right way, so that it's not just somebody getting some money to do the wrong things with or whatever. Even though I don't even.
It's not about cutting a check, Egbert. Don't you go there.
Yes, I know that. That's why I said what I said. Now that's why I said what I said. I know that, but I am with you there when we talk about and you know what was great to see, Tamara? I don't know if you saw her live or not, but she understood the entire concept, the grossness of what occurred. And here's the thing. Somebody said, where did you get 500 billion from? And she looked and she said, well, look, 40 acres and a mule, calculate XYZ. And actually, it's a lot more than 500 billion. It's quite a few $1 trillion, but we think 500 billion is politically possible. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I
listen
heard
to
that
this woman. And for my listeners, hey, as Tamara would tell you straight up, I ain't qualifying for ADOS, and she likes to remind me that I am not an ADOS. She always reminds me, and she always say none of that coming to me. So
Egberto, I'm sorry.
I'm hurt.
If it comes to me, Egberto, I might have to take you to dinner. I'll take you out to a fancy dinner, Egberto.
Thank you. My ADOS friend is going to take care of me a little bit with that reparation check. For my white listeners, there is no reparation check, okay?
No, there's not. There's not.
Okay.
And
Tell him, Tamara. Tell him for me.
It's so much more to it. Closing the racial gap, wealth gap is crucial to the Black community. I mean, just redlining alone and wealth versus income. Because just because you have an income doesn't mean you have any actual wealth. I mean, think about, college debt, student loan debt. If you have student loan debt and you don't own your home and you got a car note, you are bankrupt. If you do the math, subtract your income from your student loan debt, from your, owning your own home and your car being paid for, you're broke. So no, we have to close. We got to do something here and now to address this racial wealth gap. And guess what, white America, it benefits you too. Because if we get more and more people empowered, if we get more and more people able to sustain themselves and sustain their communities, that helps you, white America. Because all you talk
you know
about
what is so interesting, Tamara? I was listening to a whole lot of the commentary, right? And everybody is saying how this is going to damage the Democratic Party. And I have a whole lot of good friends that are in my thread, and they're telling me, Egberto, it's a big mistake to talk about that. And I sit down and there's something that you said that was prescient a couple of times ago that you said, and it's true what you said, and that was, it is always whenever ADOSs, and I'm saying ADOSs, I'm taking myself out because I don't want to get on you. All right, whenever ADOSs ask for anything, they're always put to the back of the line, and people say, just wait, it's not the right time, or you're going to cost us the election, so let's just do it the next time. And the next time never comes. And I'm going to say one other thing, though. I mean, and don't feel too bad, because it's not only the ADOSs that applies to the Latinos as well. They've been waiting for that bill to pass for a long time. And when Obama got elected, they put health care first and said we were going to continue with this, and never did. So, I mean, it is a thing. I think it's mostly a thing of people of color that they always think. And you see that in business as well, right? I can say we now. In business, we are always asked, it is always okay to ask us to wait longer or give us the lesser or whatever, because, I don't know if you I've had white friends that, when it was time to make a decision between you and another white friend, all of us are together white friends, when you notice that you are the one that it's always okay to cut you short. And
I'm not gonna let you cut me short. Like
yeah, but what I'm saying, it is something, and it's that person will never say I am racist or I am prejudiced or whatever, but within their mind there is this thing about gradation of worth. Well, there's a certain tabulation that they put it, instead of throwing up in the air and say eeny miny miny mo, it is like, okay, well, you're black, okay, it's all right. So those are the kinds of things that we have to look at. Hey, I know you can't stay too long, but I think your friend is on the other line.
Who is that? Is that John?
I think this is Johnny. Johnny, is this you, Johnny? There you go.
Johnny.
Talk about your friends on the other side.
How are you, Tamara? And how are you, Egberto? I just want to say it's a lovely day indeed, because, I mean, we went from reparations as a pipe dream to we're having a full sort of conversation about it. And I just want to say, the one little thing I want to add a little caveat now, I just want to add a little caveat.
Yes, sir.
Thurgood Marshall was against reparations because, not that he didn't believe in it conceptually, because he did, but he didn't believe that we would actually get to a point where we would actually be able to have this real conversation. And so, to Thurgood Marshall, I would say, hey, Thurgood, we did it. So right here, I feel like this is a major victory just in the fact that we're having this conversation. Number one. Number two, then I would like to just point back and say to white people who feel like reparations is a non-starter for them, unfortunately, I think that would qualify them for being mean-spirited. I don't want to say racist, but most likely racist.
Something.
Okay? If you're against reparations, what you're really saying is that you want black people in America, ADOS I should say specifically, to stay exactly where they are.
Johnny, see how you just
have
threw me
no
to the
chance
curb
of
again?
Actually being American citizens.
Johnny, I'm tired of being thrown to the curb. I am tired of being thrown to the curb, Johnny. I'm tired of it. No, okay, let me. I want to say something. I want to talk about my white brothers and sisters now, and talk about how we have to educate, right? Because I think I don't know if it was a piece by Tamara or a piece by who that said, that poor white person sitting down there who can't go to college and all of that. She came out. I think I saw you answer this on Facebook, Tamara. This person came out and said something to the effect as, I am poor, I'm having a hard time. How dare you tell me about white privilege when you're doing so much better than I am? And if it wasn't you, somebody went and gave her a great explanation about, exactly what it really meant. And what I think, and after that, what was amazing is the responses from the other white folks that had other opinions. In other words, they got turned over from her explanation. Another person that did a great explanation of white privilege in this time when a lot of poor white people are looking at a lot of successful black folk is what Gillibrand did in, I think it was Tennessee. I blogged that piece and I tweeted that piece. I think education is so important for a lot of these people because the misinformation is what guys like Trump is counting on to make reparation. You know what was the title of the show today, right? Are we going to pull defeat from victory? They think they can use reparations and these things to get a whole lot of white people pissed off, saying them Democrats want to go ahead and give it to these guys and create a friction in between. And my thing is, Johnny, education is magic. Go ahead, Johnny.
Well, let me just jump in and say that, first off, one of the issues in America is this wealth inequality. Mm-hmm. So reparations is really about trying to repair this wealth inequality. And the problem that we're having in America is that 1% of white America owns 50% of the wealth. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the quote-unquote black community, 1% in the black community owns 70% of the wealth.
Think about that.
And this is not sustainable. So when you start looking at the numbers, this is not sustainable. So this reparations movement is really, again, as I said back in the very beginning, this is really about representation.
Johnny, I need to interrupt you because I want to make sure I understood the numbers that you just said correctly. Are you saying 1% of black people own 70% of black wealth, while 1% of white people own 50% of the entire wealth of the country? Did I understand you right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought I understood.
Yes.
I knew the first number. I didn't know.
And what I'm saying,
I didn't know the second number. The second number is new to me.
Yes, and so what I'm saying is that this is a major problem. This is not sustainable. And really what we have here is we're having a breakdown of the country because at the end of the day, this is not sustainable.
Right.
And so now the question becomes, and so now I'm going to get away from my critique of white people. And now I'm going to critique my black and ADOS brothers and sisters, including myself.
You're talking about the
you
billionaires and the rich ones.
And Tamara. So now the question becomes, let me ask you this. So now that we see that Marianne Williamson is willing to go to bat for us, are we willing to go to bat for her? Because I would argue to anybody, we now have to show her some love and show her some support. And remember, we don't have to give her a huge amount of support, but it has to be significant enough to punish the people who didn't say anything about reparations and say, hey, she's talking about it, so we got to give her a bump.
Johnny,
now,
I think you just brought up a
well, the
good
news
point.
Media.
Yeah, I think you've just brought up a good point, and Tamara, I imagine we'll be talking about that on. Well, Tamara, you're going to mention that on the show at all, Tamara?
What, Marianne Williamson?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well,
absolutely, we need to support her.
Now, Tamara, you said you had to leave. How are we right now in time?
Keep going. Go ahead.
Okay, good.
Go ahead,
Johnny.
So I just wanted to point out. So now this kind of puts us in a bit of a spot because now we have to support the people who are supporting reparations. But here's the real question. One of the things I noticed that the media likes to do, they like to use like the Quinnipiac poll and establish, well, this person's in front, this person's in charge, this person is leading this poll. And the question is, how do we get Marianne Williamson some type of like representation before we get to the voting booth in the primary season?
Well, I mean,
because
I think
she might be out of the game.
No, Johnny, you just put a clarion call here, right? And I'll probably write something up based on what you're saying here. In fact, I may go ahead and cut out a piece of this video with your voice in there making that comment because, I'll be honest with you. I never thought about that at all. Okay, but then again, of course, I'm not a DOS, But I never thought...
No, listen, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And let me tell you something. And reparations for America means reparations for people from other countries. And Panama has a justice claim against a number of countries, including the United States of America,
right? Who
illegally went into Panama and arrested Noriega.
You got that.
And
right.
that was,
my brother knows some of his brother's history.
And by the way, the Justice and the person in the Department of Justice who wrote the memo that authorized that, his name is William Barr.
William Barr, you got that right. Hey, Johnny, I got to get to the other. I have a whole lot of little videos I have to do with my show. And Tamara says she had to clock out of here sometime earlier than normal today.
Love Tamara.
I love
you guys are wonderful together. Thank you.
Hey, Johnny, thank you very much.
ADOS forever, baby.
Hey, Johnny,
bye-bye.
Before you go, thank you for what you're doing, buddy, and thank you for that suggestion, dude. Anyhow, Tamara, give us a closer.
All right, you can find me every Friday at 11 a.m. along with Mr. Egberto giving us a national political update every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook and on YouTube. Reparations, ADOS, mass incarceration are issues we got to address. Closing this racial wealth gap is a now, not tomorrow, not later. It is now, right now. ADOS, ADOS, ADOS.
Oh, God. Well, thank you so kindly for having been with us, Tamara. You have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you on Friday for my 2-minute little piece that you request. So you have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Folks, we are going to have a continued great show for you. Let me tell you. I enjoyed the debate. Did you? I am pretty sure all of you enjoyed the debate. Democrats have been having very, very substantive debates, and I think that is important. There's nothing that we need to fight about. There's nothing that we need to be upset about. I mean, in as much as we had Republican-lite candidates, we had moderate candidates, we have progressive candidates, we have the gamut of people that are currently running, and that is a good thing. What we are going to do over the next few months is decide who best represents what it is to be a Democrat, who best represent what it is to be a progressive, who best represents, who think what is best for the country. We don't need to be concerned about the other side. The other side has its own problems. I mean, Buttigieg yesterday had a good statement, a very important statement I want you guys to listen to, because we are always treated as if we are less than moral. We are always treated as if somehow our policies are bad, you know, or uncalled for, or makes no sense, or for those who are Christians, less biblical. Well, listen to Brother Pete Buttigieg last night. I looked. There's one thing that he said. He said we need to vote. First of all, before I go into this tape, I want to remind you, Buttigieg said something that was very important. We need to be who we are. We need to be progressives if we're going to be progressives, moderate if we're going to be moderate, or Republican-lite if we're going to be Republican-lite. Be who we are, and that's who we are determining right now. Who represents the true mass movement of this party? I have ideas of who that is. But what he said was true. This young man, 37 years old, said, if we decide to be moderate, the Republicans will advertise us as being socialists. If we decide to be progressive, they will advertise us as being socialists. So why not be who the hell we are? So let's be who the hell we are. And here's him saying that.
Mayor Buttigieg, on Thursday of this week, a GM plant in Michigan will stop production, the latest auto plant to cease operations in the industrial Midwest. This comes as part of the company's modernization plans, which will eventually result in 6,000 hourly workers losing their jobs or being reassigned to other plants. What is your plan for retraining workers whose jobs are at risk?
This happened in my community 20 years before I was born, and when I was growing up, we were still picking up the pieces. Empty factories, empty houses, poverty. I know exactly what happens to a community when these closures take place, and there will be more. It's why we actually need to put the interests of workers first. Of course we need to do retraining. We're doing it now in South Bend. We should continue to do it, but this is so much bigger than a trade fight. This is about a moment when the economy is changing before our eyes. There are people in the gig economy who go through more jobs in a week than my parents went through in their lifetime. It's why I've proposed that we allow gig workers to unionize, because a gig is a job and a worker is a worker.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have to respond to all of these changes, and in addition to confronting tech, in addition to supporting workers by doubling unionization as I propose to do, some of this is low tech too. Like the minimum wage is just too low. and so-called conservative Christian senators right now in the Senate are blocking a bill to raise the minimum wage when Scripture says that whoever oppresses the poor taunts their maker.
Check that out. He tied the minimum wage to biblical teaching. And you know, those evangelicals think they're the ones with the answers. They're the ones that are living the godly life. And what Pete has been doing, here is this gay, democratic, moderate, progressive kind of a guy coming out straight out and saying, hey, what you guys are doing, not wanting to have these particular policies is, guess what, unbiblical, unchristian-like. But we all knew that, right? But many of our candidates wouldn't have gone out to say it. Buttigieg doesn't mind. I'll go out and tell you as it is. You are being better. What is it you're being? You're being evil. So, in effect, Buttigieg is saying, look, the policies that progressive want, the policies like increasing the minimum wage, the policies that help families, those are the policies Americans say they want. Those are the policies that poll very well north of 60%. That is what we represent. There were 3 or 4 candidates on day one who would support most of those policies sans Medicare for all. But most of those policies, all those folks supported. Except for, of course, the Republican-lite candidates like Dennehy and Hickenlooper and all those other guys that are nothing more than the wards to the plutocracy, the wards to corporatocracy. They're going nowhere. They'll be out of the race pretty soon. And good riddance from these guys, because these guys, and you know what is so funny about these guys is I want the conversation. But like I said, I want the conversation in such a manner to prove how horrendous the corporatocracy is, that they can capture folks in the Democratic Party to sound like somehow their policies, the policies of the plutocracy, the policies of the corporatocracy has some sort of a merit, and to bring them in here to attempt to have us follow them. No way. Let me tell you folks, it is our job for us to go out there and make sure that these guys get absolutely no traction. But more so than not, there's something else we have to do. We have to make sure not that they don't only get no traction, we have to let it know that the policies themselves are anti-middle class, anti-poor, and simply looks out for those on the top. Nothing more, nothing less. I want to have, and I'm coming to you in a little bit Skype call. I want you to listen to, I'll tell you what, before that, let me take the Skype call and then I'll go to the other video. Because like I said, I don't want to keep somebody holding too long. Skype call, come on in.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Look, to answer the core premise of your program,
yes,
snatching defeat from victory, it's painfully obvious. Trump derangement syndrome has driven the Democratic Party insanely radical.
Okay.
And they've come out in the open, and they cannot control their darker Marxist impulses.
What kind of impulses, sir?
Marxist.
Oh, Marxist impulses. Okay. Let me ask you a question, sir.
Yes.
Are you willing to have a dialogue?
Yes, sir, I certainly am.
Okay, great. Thank you so kindly. Question number 1. What policy specifically that progressives support as you see it do you consider extreme or Marxist?
Okay, the worst of them, which is not likely to pass at this time, but believe me, these fanatics will not stop doubling down.
Just tell me the policy, and then we'll discuss it.
It is the Green New Deal, which would amount to an almost near total centralization of power in the central government.
Let me ask you one other question.
That's about as Marxist and communistic as you can get.
Sure. Let me ask you a question about that, because can I ask you, where did you get that information about the Green New Deal?
Well, I read it.
Okay, because the Green New Deal has
the government mandated retrofitting of nearly every building in the United States.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Okay, let's look at the elimination through government edict of the internal combustion engine for the most part.
Okay, let me ask again. Let's assume that that is correct, because what we're talking about phasing into policies that would eventually phase out these things that are throwing carbon into the air, which is causing climate change, etc. But let's assume
Which is another hoax.
But let's assume you're right. Let's assume you're right, okay? Aren't there many government edicts right now that you support?
Of course, if they're outlined in the United States Constitution and or its subsequent amendments,
Great.
then I might not like all of them.
Right.
I might not even support all of them, but I'm at least willing to accept them.
I am so happy that you said that, sir. What does the preamble of the Constitution say? That's our responsibility.
Well, you want to read it to you? I got it right in front of me.
Read it for me.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. I just dropped the page there.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right, sir. I mean,
I'm
only talking to my people. I'm talking to
we
the wall.
the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Thank you. Stop right there. Do you believe that preamble?
Yes, I completely accept it.
Okay, and let me tell you something. I am concerned about you. In other words, I'm concerned about your welfare. I want to ensure. What is your name, sir? First name?
Larry.
Larry. I care about you. I want to ensure that whether you know it or not, there are things that corporations are doing to you that could be detrimental to your health. I want you to know that as somebody who cares about humanity. That's what I want you to know. And I want you to stop looking at things like the Green New Deal as some crazy thing that people want to do to take away your freedom. That is how the corporations, and I listen to you, I ask you to listen to me for a bit here. The corporations in this country, the plutocracy in this country, the wealthy in this country, they have a concerted reason to create a group of people who believe that these policies we crazy progressives want to put out there is somehow there to take your power, somehow there to take your rights away. And it's a definite opposite of that. It is like completely opposite. Let me tell you something else. I can deal with you telling me you want whatever we do to be constitutional. I am not a constitutionalist, nor do I like the Constitution per se. Remember, it used to consider me 3/5 of a man. Okay? So, but you are an American citizen who lives by the Constitution. I am telling you that everything within the Green New Deal is constitutional because we care about you. In other words, when we tell you, no, listen, don't laugh. Listen to me. It's important that you understand what I'm saying here. When I tell you we care about the welfare of people, that's what I mean. And when we talk about, if you take the level of carbon dioxide in the air, when you go to the doctor and what do they put on your finger? They put a thing on your finger to measure your oxygen levels, right? As our levels decrease, the proportions decrease, that will change. These are things that cannot change on a dime. In other words, by the time folks find out the amount of damage we're doing, it is too late to correct. So I am saying, if the Green New Deal is proposing things as like the following, that it's going to create a whole lot of new green jobs in the Midwest and all these other parts of the country, that's going to take my brothers and sisters in Appalachia out of the coal mine. That is going to take my brothers and sisters that are doing some other things that are making them sick. If all those things are true, let's say even if you don't believe in climate change, let's assume you don't. Let's assume you don't.
No, I do, but I don't believe that anthropogenic climate change has much to do with it.
Sir, I get that, and that is not the important factor, though. You don't, most scientists do, but that's not even what I want to argue with you about. I want to tell you that just applying these policies will do no harm to you and would make things better. What the plutocracy tries to get you pissed off about is saying, I'm losing my freedom. Oh, you're losing your freedom to dump less things in the air. You're losing your freedom to do this. It's not true. We are actually on the same We are actually on the same team. And that's what I've been trying to do with my show. Even as a progressive, I've been going like hell to Appalachia and these other places to say, brothers and sisters, we are on the same team. Don't let these guys up top create friction among us so that we don't see who the enemy really is. And that's my job. So what I'm telling you is this. Sometime, I want you to be coming back here to Willie's computer. I mean, I'm talking my company, to Politics Done Right, to Willie's Media. What I do here, and keep the conversation going. Look at the blogs that I write, and try to see it just like I try to see things through your eyes. You try to see it through my eyes, and let's see where we get there.
I do, sir. I frequently. I spend at least as much time reading things about people from people that do not agree with me as I do that do.
And let's continue.
I like to hear the other side. In fact, that's why I'm here. I'm not here for agreement. I am here for clarity.
There you go. So I think we have a good starting point.
All right. Well, I'd just like to say this now. What you just told me sounds to me a bit like another version of the iron fist and the velvet glove.
Okay,
I believe not in freedom, sir. I don't believe in freedom. I believe in liberty.
Okay.
And for me, liberty is freedom from arbitrary and capricious government control.
Oh, those words
sound beautiful. For me, that is more important even than freedom.
Those words
freedom frequently is license.
Those words sound beautiful. Let me tell you what happens. You know, there's an institution here, right, that in order to convince a whole lot of people, and this happens not only on the right side, it happens on the left side, right? They have to find out what the triggers are. Because like I tell you, if my wife tells me to do certain things, I don't want to do it, but it's my wife, and to keep some sort of a sanity within the family unit, you do it. The same thing applies in a country. We don't all agree, but for a long time we've lived with a certain degree of sanity by give and take, etc. And that is what I think we have to do with the Green New Deal. I think that is what we have to do with a lot of other things, the give and take. What I don't want to happen is I don't want a guy like you to call in here and think that you have to take my head off because you think I have some conspiracy to take away your liberty, because that's not the case. I have no interest in taking away your freedom, your liberty, your gun, or anything else. What I want to do is come to a position where we can actually coexist, and eventually the coexistence would let folks see, damn, we're not all that different after all. You get my point?
Yes, sir, I do. But unfortunately, when the rubber meets the road, and I read the policies of those who frequently espouse many of the things that you say you believe in,
yes,
it does seem to indicate a diminution of liberty. You just mentioned guns, for example.
Yes.
Perfect example.
I own
3 AR-15s. I own 3 of them. Okay. And the reason I became a conservative I was like you 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I believed in probably most of everything you did, maybe even more. But the gun issue is what turned me from being a liberal.
Why?
Because I found out they were literally lying on just about everything they said to justify their gun control antics.
You know what?
So right now I own 3 AR-15s. I own 3 of them. Now I've heard almost every single Democrat presidential candidate who does espouse many of these policies say if they get one of them in particular, Kamala Harris says, if she comes into office by executive order without any legislation from Congress, she's gonna pass her version of gun control to include
let me tell
seizing by force of government my AR-15s. Now that's just a small example, relatively.
I want to ask you a question.
But it's typical of these people.
Okay, hold on.
They are incipient tyrants. I believe they are tyrannical at their heart.
Larry. That is how people want you to be. Get all excited and 609. I'm coming to you next. But let me tell you this, okay? I am against the AR.
You don't think I sound irrational, do you?
Actually, it did for a little bit, but that's okay. You're on my show, so I love everybody. But let me tell you something, brother. Hear me out.
I'm really not. I've thought this through at length, sir. I mean, for 30-something years,
that's fine.
I've been listening to these people.
I've thought a whole lot of things out by length and still changed my mind on certain things. Let me just tell you my position on the AR-15, okay? I don't have a gun. I don't like guns. I don't want to take away your guns. The AR-15, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't want you to answer it right now. I want you to answer it the next time I have a gun show. But here it goes like this. Do you think it should be okay for you to have a bazooka? Yes or no? And then we'll talk about this some other time.
It should be a part of the armament of the militia, the citizen militia.
Again, my question
of the
to you,
same
sir.
sort that turned back the British when they came to seize the cannons at Concord and Lexington.
My brother, I asked you a simple question, my brother. Do you think you have the right to have a bazooka in your home?
Well, actually, you do have it right now, sir.
Right. We'll talk.
You comply with the National Firearms Act of 1934.
Larry, first of all, let me tell you,
do.
I appreciate you entertaining the
and
conversation.
If I comply with that statute, then yes, I think I should have that right.
Brother, I appreciate you having the conversation with me. I want you to stay engaged with me. I want you to stay engaged with the program. I want you to go to my blogs and critique them, complain about them, talk about them, share them. But the way we actually get somewhere is we communicate. All right, bro?
No, that's fine with me.
All right. You have a good one, and thank you for calling, sir.
You too, sir. Good luck.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, let's go to number 609. Come on in, 609.
Hey, Bertha. How are you?
I'm fine. Who am I speaking to?
It's Paul.
Paul, talk to me, brother. Man, 2 conservatives in a row.
Yeah. Listen, I just wanted to tangent off of Larry's conversation with you regarding the Second Amendment.
Sure.
The whole purpose behind the Second Amendment wasn't for hunting or target shooting or even self-defense per se. It was to prevent government tyranny.
Really? You really think that?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Paul. It's
Absolutely.
a simple question. What can you do against a F-16? Can you use a gun, one of those guns with an F-16 and go drop a bomb on you?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Did we win the Vietnam War?
No.
Yeah. It was a bunch of
guerrillas.
Of Vietnamese, North Vietnamese
you know something?
in the jungle.
Paul,
AK-47.
I tell you something, Paul. You actually just brought up a damn good point. I mean, I just thought about, the argument I always use when the gun people tell me about guns, right, is about what you're going to do with an F-16, right, or a tank or whatever. And, nobody ever just looked at me and said, have you ever heard of Vietnam? Because it is so simple. I'm sorry, you're right about that. I never thought about that one.
Enough. There's 300 million AR-15s.
Right, but let me tell you now. Okay.
I know there's a lot of AR-15s.
Okay, sir. Okay, I got
country.
you know something.
And if they mobilized against,
Paul, you made your point.
The government,
Paul,
it's going to be a war.
Hey, can't you accept that you made your damn point, Paul? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
All right, you made your point. Guess what? I am just about to accept, oh, wow, there was Vietnam and there is guerrilla warfare and all of that. Somehow I hadn't equated the two of them. So anyhow, but that is now a part of my argument just because of Paul, my conservative buddy, calling in. But here's the deal. I still am look, the truth of the matter is I am against all those psychedelic guns. I'm using the wrong words. I'm not a gun guy. The AR this and AR that. I went to Netroots and I bought a gun case to carry my my poster, not my posters, but my banner. This stands for my banner. And I was talking to the young man in there who I told him I didn't like guns, and he wanted to give me entertain a conversation with me, and he showed me his kids with guns and all of that. It's not my thing. But if we find that some kinds of guns are being used by some folks and killing a whole lot of people, don't you think some regulations should be in order for that?
No.
Okay. Then,
And I'll tell you why.
No, you don't have, look.
Less people die from, well, let me get this point out.
Go ahead.
Less people die every year from AR-15s and rifles in general than handguns. And not by a little, by a lot. Every weekend in Chicago, you're having 15, 20 people shot by handguns.
But those are
killed by handguns.
I think the person that talks against you in that regard would tell you that the AR-15 is usually used in mass killings, while the handgun is between gangs and all that kind of stuff, right? Is that true?
Well, look at the totals.
Oh,
I agree with you.
I can't dispute that with you, Paul. You're right about the totals. You're right. No, I'm a numbers guy. I only believe in numbers. So if that's what the numbers say, that's what the numbers say. Right?
The numbers say it every year. And a guy down in Virginia Tech killed 30 people with a handgun.
Yeah. Well,
but nobody said a peep.
Well, look, let me tell you, I am.
People are going to use whatever they have.
Well, look, when I see those guns, I'll be honest with you. The guns, to me, all those people running around with those kinds of guns are intimidating. And let me tell you something else. Some of the people, I'm not saying you are one of them, but some of the people that run around with these guns, they do it to have sort of an intimidating factor on folks that are not into guns. But hey, that is a subject. I'll leave it to the mothers against guns who are going to be working for some sort of a compromise. I think we need to reach some compromise. Now, whereas you are strictly constitutional, you hold a whole lot of weight to that document. I am into making changes to that document as much as possible because, like I said, it's not like that document was the best to me or the best to a lot of people, women and others. So that's just my take. But anything else you want to add, Paul?
I disagree with you.
I know. That's fine.
Let me put it this way. The document isn't perfect by any means, but it's the greatest document for running a country that we've ever had in humanity.
I think you need to check the South African.
You can't dispute that.
Nope, it's a capital document. Take a look at the South African Constitution, which had the benefit of looking at all the bad documents in the world to come up with something that is worthwhile. So I mean, just don't take my word for it. Just go read it for yourself. But you know.
Wait, South Africa? Are you really bringing up South Africa? They're murdering white people left and right in South Africa right now.
Say it again. Say it again.
They're murdering people left and right in South Africa, white people, because they're white.
Okay, hold on. Look, murdering.
You haven't seen that?
Yeah, but hold on a second. Murdering in a country doesn't have much to do with the Constitution, okay? Because there's no country that murders more. Paul, listen to me. There's no country that has more murders than the United States, okay? None. So not only is that a fact, but there are other facts as well. Please don't fall into the thing about, oh, they're murdering white people and all of that, because at that point we get into that ping pong of, well, white people has killed more folks than any other race in this country. So I mean, I don't want to go there. I'm saying what we need to do is go forward. Okay? Because what happens is the way people are talking right now, they're trying to make it look like, oh, those people of color are the criminals who always kill. That's not true. Humans kill. And because of history, the folks that have killed the most people around the world has been white people. But you don't hear anybody saying that, and we don't need to say that because we consider humans. And under other circumstances, all humans probably would do that. So let's kind of back off that wordiology that's saying, oh, in South Africa, a lot of white people getting killed. Let's not go there. All right, my friend?
Well, here's the thing. Didn't you just say that South Africa's Constitution was incredibly good because
yes, and that has nothing to do with the murder.
All the flaws out of the other documents.
Yes, and it has nothing to do with the murder rate. The murder rate is a social-economic issue in that country. Nothing to do with the laws of the land. Everybody who murders is guilty.
Well, when a white police officer murders a black person, an unarmed black person in this country,
they get off.
A big deal out of it.
They get off all the time. They get off all the time.
Let me finish. I bring up the fact that white people are being there's a genocide against white people in South Africa, and you don't want to talk about it.
No, that's not true.
You want to say that everybody's just human. We don't want to talk about.
No.
They're all human, regardless of color.
There is no Paul, please. I understand that a lot of your media tells you that there's a genocide in South Africa against white people. They're also trying to tell white people in America, in fact, Trump is starting that narrative that somehow the white culture in America is in danger. We have to, Paul, you're a conservative, okay? You come to my show all the time. You are on my blogs all of the time. Let's not go there. Be one of the people that are going to be positive and move things forward. Let's not go in the gutter with Trump, or let's not go in the gutter with all these folks that are trying to promote this disunity and all of that. Let's not go there. We can actually do better than that. Come on, dude. But anyway, I need to get to the closing of my show, my brother. You keep watching, you keep listening, all right?
I'm not done yet.
Oh, go quick then. You got 30 seconds,
Green
brother.
New Deal.
30 seconds.
All right. Well, regarding the Green New Deal, nothing that they proposed is going to help the climate. And I'll tell you why. Because the biggest polluters in the world, namely China and India, aren't going to be under the auspices of the Green New Deal. So we could eliminate carbon dioxide, we could stop combustion engines, we could go to totally wind and solar power, and that's not going to do anything for the global climate.
Okay, and
I'll
that
let
is,
you respond.
Mr. Paul, that is completely false, but I don't have the time to get into that right now. And I want you to remember, if we were to, hold on a second, I just want you to remember one thing, okay? This is important. Because here it is, America has the biggest economy, the most vibrant economy, and to get that economy, most of that carbon in the air right now was placed there by the United States of America. Okay, that's a fact. Most of the total aggregate carbon that's been thrown into the environment was done by us because of the huge economy that we have. When you have a China and an India and all these places that are saying, no, we need to develop our economy, you back off, we are not going to back off as much. We have to be empathetic enough to understand that our wealth was built on throwing all that carbon into the air. The same with Great Britain. They threw out more than their per capita income into the per capita carbon into the air by orders of magnitude over these countries. So therefore, the people that are most responsible for doing this, backing off and cleaning up, it's logical for the if we were to tag all the carbon in the air, most of it would be ours. So we have to be cognizant of those things. And what a lot of conservative networks don't tell you is they want you to be wrong and strong. In other words, well, if we're going to cut, you need to cut too. Hey, but you got a hell of a lot of development done before, not us. So come on, let's be a little bit fair here. And don't think about
okay.
Think about it. Don't just shoot from the hip.
I am thinking, and I have
Think
thought
about
about
it
a lot.
And we'll talk about it later. Okay? I gotta go. I gotta go.
I gotta point something out. Real quick, Egberto. You promised me.
Okay, 10 seconds, man.
Well, most of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere isn't even caused by human beings. And you're a smart guy. You know that. So to say that the America is responsible for most of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is false.
All right, we'll talk about that later.
Occurring.
We got to talk about that later. Paul, I got to go. Thank you very much for being a part of Politics Done Right, brother. And we'll keep talking. And you know what? This conversation between you and me and the other conservative I call, believe it or not, it shows other people that we can talk. All right, brother?
Yeah, I agree.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
All right, talk to you soon.
All right, folks. Today, I got one progressive call, 2 conservative calls, but I love you guys. I love you all, okay? That is how we're going to change it. You have to entertain the conversation. Even though Paul is trying to fight me back and I'm fighting back Paul, there's some kind of a place that we are going to meet sometime. And the same goes with Larry, who called earlier. Larry he said he's a former liberal who's now a conservative just on the gun issue. Well, then he's not a conservative. He's just a liberal who loves guns. So I'll check him out to see if he's just blowing smoke up. You know what, Larry? And see what's going on there. But anyhow, folks, I want to remind you that this is a progressive show that needs your support. You know what? I still have a few minutes. I want all progressives and conservatives to listen to this. Elizabeth Warren made a very important statement. I won't play the Delaney. Well, I'm going to play that too. Gosh, shoot, I'm going to go over. We're going to go over by 2 minutes. I want you to hear this. This is important. All progressives, I'll play the Delaney first. Delaney went out and he said to Chris Matthews that Elizabeth Warren did not say how she was going to pay for all the things that she wanted. It's a lie. She's already specified exactly how the 2% property tax would break down, the 2% wealth tax was going to break down, and what it can pay for. And she already articulated how everything that she's proposing is going to be paid for. It's not true, and the media has allowed him to say, check this out here.
I know how to fight, and I know how to win.
Wrong video.
I took
Wrong
on
video.
giant
Hold on.
banks,
This is the one that I want to show
I
you.
beat them.
Here it is.
He accused Jake Tapper, who I think did a great job tonight, of using a Republican talking point. Is it a Republican talking point to ask what something's costs?
Yes.
And how does that, you mean it? Is it, are you allowed to ask, will the taxes go up in a Medicare for a lifetime?
It was a great question. And look at, I just think his answer and Senator Warren's answer to anyone who criticizes one of their plans is that's a Republican talking point. That's an intolerant approach.
Yeah.
You need to say, why is my
Warren
plan
did
workable?
that too once.
Why is your plan workable? How are you going to pay for it? And how are you going to get it done? Those are the three questions everyone should answer. And I don't think they can answer those questions.
Your line, sir, I wrote down the big lines tonight. 4 or 5 of you guys come in tonight to go after the progressives. You, Brian, let's see, Bullock, and Hickenlooper. Okay, your line was free everything. Is that what you think of the progressives? Free everything.
That's where they're going. Like writing off every student loan. Right? Everyone. What about the person who just paid off their loans? They're going to feel like fools. What about the kids who are about to go to school and borrow money? I mean, what about the little kids?
Now, that sounds exactly like a Republican would sound. First of all, Elizabeth Warren has pointed out exactly how she is paying for all her proposals. By him coming out to Chris Matthews and saying that, he is simply lying. No different than Donald Trump. Now, let's go to what Elizabeth Warren had to say now about progressives. Elizabeth Warren had this statement, and I think this is one of the most prescient, one of the most important ones. Check this out. Elizabeth Warren is telling progressives, do not have any fear.
I know how to fight, and I know how to win. I took on giant banks, and I beat them. I took on Wall Street and CEOs and their lobbyists and their lawyers, and I beat them. I took on a popular Republican incumbent senator, and I beat him. I remember when people said Barack Obama couldn't get elected. Shoot, I remember when people said Donald Trump couldn't get elected. We can't choose a candidate we don't believe in just because we're too scared to do anything else. And we can't ask other people to vote for a candidate we don't believe in. Democrats win when we figure out what is right and we get out there and fight for it. I am not afraid. And for Democrats to win, you can't be afraid either.
So I think Democrats win when we run on real solutions, not impossible promises. When we run on things that are workable, not fairy tale economics.
You know, I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for.
And I want everybody to recognize what she just said there. Why run if you're just going to say what we cannot do? No, we can do it all. We can actually do that, and the money is there to do it all. Folks, for you that are here with us, I ask you to support this program. Patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright and be a subscriber. All subscribers get a chance to read all my books online. As I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. I promise you are going to learn everything you need to know about the economy and how they're screwing us and what we can do about it. I also have the book that I'm currently writing called How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. Again, I'm on the 4th chapter now. There are 3 chapters out already. All of this is online for you to read for those of you who subscribe. So please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. patreon.com/politicsdoneright. And of course, I've told you about having lost a whole lot of weight because I had blood pressure 240 over 140, I almost stroked out. I found a way to take off the weight, eat right. Now my blood pressure is way into the normal range, and I've gone from 3 blood pressure pills to 1 blood pressure pill. This is how I did it. Please consider all of these books. You can either get it directly by subscribing to our channel, or subscribing to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, or you can go to amazon.com and purchase it. But also, don't forget to go to our store, store.com, or rather store.politicsdoneright.com. Get our cup. And guess what we have in Let me pull this off here. Guess what we have? Guess what we have in now? Where's the camera? The T-shirts. Check out the T-shirts. Where is it? Politics Done. The Politics Done Right T-shirt. Look, guys. All of this is to support the movement. All of this is to support the progressive independent media, telling you guys things that you're not hearing on the mainstream media, giving you the narrative that you're not hearing on the mainstream media because they can't tell you this. They're owned by the corporatocracy. Do you think they're going to tell you about reducing the prices of drugs? How can insulin, which has been off of patent forever, cost 10 times as much here than it does in Canada? And even in Canada at that price, it's too expensive since the patent was sold to the public domain for $1 so that everybody could get use of insulin. And the only reason we're paying the kind of prices we're paying for insulin right now is because of the evilness. And I say that when people are dying from diabetes and to charge them the kind of monies they're charging for insulin, nobody talks about how evil that is for a drug that is out of patent over 100 years old and costs less than $1. And they're charging people $700 a month for this. If that isn't evil and people are halving it and dying from that, how evil is that? That is our current health care system. Make nobody fool you about it. All the drugs that you hear developed that we're paying crazy prices for, you developed it. Your tax dollars went to universities to develop it. And when it was time to turn it into a product, the universities say, okay, give me a few dollars. The companies give them a few dollars. They take it and they make billions. And you know who pay for it? You pay for it on both ends, my brothers and sisters, on both ends. You pay to develop it and you pay after they market it. And you complain and you say, when we talk about Medicare for all, you tell us it's radical? Please support Politics Done Right, patreon.com/Politics Done Right. Allow us to stay alive, to be able to tell people the way things really are and not what others want them to know. Because it's the only way we're going to make a difference. It's the only way we're going to vote the right people in. Because, as you can see, even with the 10 Democrats on stage yesterday, we only had 2 progressives and 3 moderates. All the others, the only thing that they cared about was the corporations with the crumbs going to the poor and the middle class. Can we really have that? No. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright or go to politicsdoneright.com/donate to contribute to the show, or go to store.politicsdoneright.com to purchase everything that you're buying from us, everything that you're subscribing to. Goes right into this show, this little thing of information. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3.